So Drew Peterson has been sitting in jail for, over a year at this point, hasn't he? Yep. And it all deals with hearsay, and we've talked about that previously. Today is a big day for Drew Peterson and a big day for his lead attorney, Joel Brodsky, who joins us here on WIND. Good morning, Mr. Brodsky.
Good morning.
So,
Mr. Brodsky, or
yeah,
Joel?
I was going to say, Mr. Brodsky.
Wow. Call me Miss Jacobson.
Yeah.
This is huge news. For the first time in the state history, the 3rd District Appellate Court in Ottawa is allowing the oral arguments to be broadcast live. How did that come about?
That's a really great question. We have no idea. All I know is about 2 weeks ago, we got an order in the mail from the appellate court saying that they were going to allow WGN to broadcast the proceedings live, and it was a shock to all of us. This is over 150 years, almost 175 years. Illinois has been a state, and this is the first time there'd ever been a live broadcast of any proceeding.
Well, this adds a whole new element to the courtroom. Does it make you, as an elite attorney, more nervous or jittery, or are you just going to pretend it's not there?
The way they have it set up, they have it set up so the camera's in the back, and very unobtrusive. So I don't think it's going to make a big difference to us, but it's got to add some sort of aspect to the way the judges are going to see the case. I mean, they can't help but think that there's a lot of public interest in how they're going to decide this case, and judges in Illinois are elected. So, this is probably the first time that these elected officials people are actually going to see their faces or have any idea who they are. So I can't imagine it's not going to have some effect on how they're going to
Judge Ito became famous because of the O.J. Simpson trial. We all got to know who he was.
Well, Peterson's not going to be there, though, so it's, Now, Joel, explain to us exactly what you're trying to accomplish on behalf of Drew Peterson today.
We're trying to have Judge White's ruling upheld. Everybody has to remember that it's the government, the state, that's appealed. We had that 5-week-long hearing on hearsay evidence before Judge White back almost 8 months ago. The judge ruled, and we were actually quite pleased with his ruling. I mean, we didn't get 100% of exclude the hearsay, but most of it and the most objectionable parts were excluded, and we were pleased and ready to go to trial. And then the government at the last minute, the state at the last second, decided to appeal. What we'd like to see is the appellate court just say, Judge White was correct. He heard 5 weeks evidence, and his ruling that most of this stuff was unreliable is correct, and we're going to say go to trial.
Aren't there 13 so-called hearsay statements that you're fighting over?
Well, yeah, I mean, it did leak out, and while we weren't the ones that leaked it, it did leak out, but it's still technically under seal, so I don't want to say how many or what they were, but I can say certainly the majority, the large majority of what the state wanted to introduce was kept out.
What has happened in other states in similar cases?
Well, there's never been a similar case to this. And the reason is this.
But hearsay is part of other state statutes. I know that.
Oh, yeah, and it's been part of the common law, what they call forfeiture by wrongdoing in federal law for many, many years. But this is the first time where you've ever had a situation where what somebody was going to say to their wife or what somebody said to a family member in a divorce case, unrelated to the alleged criminal act, has been even attempted to be introduced into evidence at a criminal trial. They're trying to cross over from, saying, well, you committed a homicide to keep somebody from testifying in a divorce. Therefore, everything you've said to anybody about that divorce case, whether it would be relevant or not in the divorce case, gets to come into evidence, and you can imagine what people say if you've ever been through a divorce or involved in one. Yeah, what people say in divorce cases about their spouses, is just horrible, and to let that into a divorce, into a homicide case or any criminal case, I think is outrageous.
Well, Joel, I'm not a Drew Peterson sympathizer, but I think that the hearsay law is unconstitutional, and the fact that he's still in prison because the Will County State's Attorney's Office can't get their case together. I think that's unconstitutional as well.
Yeah, he's been in there 21 months now, basically in I wouldn't call it solitary, but in isolation, And as strong as Drew is, mentally strong guy, and one of the most mentally strong people I've ever known, it's still wearing on him. There's no, it has to be.
Well, he needs Stacy to come forward. She's been in hiding long enough.
Well, we always hope that happens someday. Once again, there's a lot that hasn't been, that's something that's still under investigation. And, there were many, days and days of grand jury investigation and police reports that I've had the opportunity to see, and it's certainly not.
Well, you know what? I'm looking forward to the trial. I think they ought to get on with it. I do agree with that point.
With that, we were ready in July 8th, and we're ready. We can be ready in 2 weeks. We hope that this, ends, and that if you're going to hold somebody in prison, you should be able to put on a case in a relatively short period of time and prove them guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. They shouldn't sit 21 months without, any evidence of guilt being presented to a jury.
And Joe, before we let you get on with your busy day, as John Howell always says, I just need to know how Drew is doing. Is he lost a lot of weight? How are his spirits?
Well, actually, he's gained weight, and he's on a diet. His spirits are strong. Obviously, the 21 months is taking its toll on him. The monotony of being locked up without knowing that there's an end to it. Not having a date that looking forward to for a trial is obviously a lot of stress. Drew's always been, as long as his kids are good, and Stephen and his boys and Lacey are doing okay. Drew will get through it, and the kids are doing great, and so he's able to get through this.
Hey, thanks for your time this morning. Okay.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, Joel Brodsky, head attorney for Drew Peterson.